With the same question?
And if you just, yeah. So you were just kind of, your dad was a graphics designer, and it's just a little bit about where you kind of grew up and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, sure. So yeah, so I grew up just with my dad, sort of hanging out in, like ad agencies after school, and really got a taste for his creative endeavors. And I thought he made it look really good. So I wanted to be, I thought I was going to grow up and be like Betsy Johnson or Isaac Mizrahi and make beautiful clothes.
Yeah.
But I can't work a sewing machine, so that's not happening. So yeah, so I turned to writing, and writing doesn't, I think most writers will tell you writing doesn't really pay the bills. So from there, I segued into marketing and communications, and that's how I got into cannabis. And that was, it was great. It was life changing, and was the best thing that ever happened to me professionally. But to be clear, legal cannabis in Canada is quite corporate, and often companies are publicly traded. And so a lot of what I was writing turned out to be, quite dry. Canadian cannabis companies are really, really heavily regulated by Health Canada in terms of our messaging and what we can say. And so I really couldn't say much. And I found that just through networking and meeting other people in the space, there were so many amazing women doing really, really cool, innovative, brave things. And I kind of wanted to just write about them.
Yeah.
So I started this blog, The Herb Life, and I had a day job for the first couple of years, so I didn't really talk about it much. I didn't promote it much, but it was one of those things that kind of was in the right place at the right time, and there weren't a lot of other Canadians writing the same stories that I was writing, and so I managed to find a little foothold and an audience, and that audience has grown, and now Herblife is my main priority and my main focus. And so we produce print magazines and podcasts, and we're looking at moving into video in the near future. And it's just, the most fun. And the whole time, what we're doing is talking about cannabis and trying to normalize it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that the older generation might not realise, like to
Yeah.
normalise it, like because
Yeah.
they don't really speak about it, but they'll maybe speak about, or they do speak about alcohol just normally.
Yeah. Like
Speaking about,
alcohol's an everyday thing.
yeah, and I don't see why you shouldn't be able to just pop to the shops and buy some cannabis. It should just be as normal as that. If you can still go to buy cigarettes or alcohol or the fatty foods that some people put inside their body.
Yeah, I mean, even like
just go and get that.
sugar or, all of that stuff is totally okay. And it's heavily marketed to our kids, but it's super detrimental. But I mean, here in Canada, we have to be so careful. Like any sort of, like our website and any website that sells cannabis or talks about cannabis has to be age gated. Like if you're going to have like a cannabis company sponsor an event, that event has to be for 19 and over or 18 and over. There's just this whole sort of like, I mean, to be clear, we're in the early days, so everything's really buttoned up really tight, and we're being very super careful. Like we don't want the world to explode because we've legalized cannabis, but we're really going out of our way to make sure that the kids don't ever lay eyes on it or hear about it, or which is I think it's an overstep, but I understand that regulations can be rolled back eventually, but it's hard to increase them, so I get it.
Yeah, I think the silly thing is as well, like kids are going to. It's like if parents try to get their kids never to swear, never to say a bad word, or never to drink alcohol. At some point, they're going to be tempted by it.
Oh yeah, they're going to be like, I'm going to drink all the alcohol.
Because they watch movies with it in it as well, and their friends might might do it, and I feel the conversation should be a little bit more open, just like you teach them about sex, teach them about food, teach them about how to exercise. It should be the exact same. So in other schools, they teach you the different kind of drugs and stuff that you can get. But it's when I was at school, it was literally just like a pamphlet
Yeah.
with like the
And like it
drugs in it.
probably was like, just say no.
No, we just got like the drugs and what kind of high it gives you,
Uh-huh.
and I was, how is this like a bad thing? This should just kind of make me want to try half of these drugs.
I was gonna say,
Like,
I'm like, that just sounds like
I know,
ad.
I know heroin's bad. I shouldn't try that.
Right.
I know the ones that are bad. Okay, the other ones maybe let's try them.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
exactly. Well, that one's interesting.
but
See, okay, the way I look at it is, and I'm a mom. I have two children, and so I look at it like this. Education is the key to harm reduction. So if we don't want our kids to go out and like eat 1,000 milligram brownie and then have heart palpitations and think they're going to die, or do something
yeah,
stupid, then we've got to sit down and talk to them and say, listen, like if you're going to experiment with cannabis, this is how you do it in a way that isn't going to freak you out and then, freak me out by proxy. So this is how you do it responsibly. Responsible consumption can be achieved, and you've got to wait until you're of age, absolutely, but education can start so much sooner.
yeah. I'm the same. I've got two kids as well.
Yeah.
They're only well the two one of these next weeks, so they're going to be 3 and 3, so they're
Okay.
really close together.
Yeah.
But the from when I do like exercise and stuff, I use things like hemp oil just to help
Mhm.
like my joints and stuff. But
Yeah.
they know everything about like cannabis stuff already. But it's
Yeah.
not like they're not going to try it. They're 3. You know what I mean? Like they'll be well into 18, 20 legal plus age that they can do it.
Hmm.
But like for us, because it isn't a conversation, the
Yeah.
teachers that we have don't even speak about it. One of my kids' teachers doesn't even know where broccoli comes from.
Oh
So
my
I was like,
gosh.
I got scared when she said that. I was like, maybe you should go learn that. But
Yeah.
it's the way I suppose it's the teachers need to get taught the information as well. And it will be
Yeah.
generational. So maybe next generation they'll get the benefit of it instead of from the way it is just now.
That makes sense because I know that, for many, many decades, physicians weren't taught about the human endocannabinoid system, which is something all humans have, and a ton of animals and
Yeah,
bugs, and, like we've all got it. It's critical. It's just as important as like the nervous system, and it helps maintain homeostasis. And the way that we can take care of our endocannabinoid system is by ingesting cannabis. But for a long time, I would be having discussions with physicians and trying to talk to them about the benefits of medicinal cannabis, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're crazy, you're out of your mind." And it turned out a ton of them didn't even know about this, didn't even know about the endocannabinoid system at all. So a lot of it just stems from prohibition era ignorance, and we're starting to turn that around now, which is really exciting.
yeah. One of my first experiences with kind of cannabis and all that kind of stuff was when I was younger. My mum was really unwell, so she had meningitis. She also had epilepsy and lots of
Mm-hmm.
different kind of illnesses with like her kidneys and liver and really bad illnesses. And she was one of the first kind of trials. So the doctor was like, she was on about, she took like 28 tablets in the morning, and just to go to sleep, she took about 20,
My
19
gosh.
or 20 tablets. So it was like, and that was daily. So it was just like the side effects from them were greater than the problem that she had.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor was like, well, we have this really a trial you can do, and you can smoke cannabis and try different strains and they see what one works for you. So I was about 11 or 12 when that started. So that
Okay.
must have been early 2000s, I want to say, or maybe 90s, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But they were just trying it, so it was like, because my mum was so severe,
Uh-huh.
it was like, okay, let's try this out. So instead of she obviously having epilepsy, you can't watch like certain movies. For not that it's funny, but for my mum, if you turn like the a light on in the room, you'd have to let her know she could shut her eyes first.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
it was pretty severe, but it was funny if you forgot.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Sure.
but that all went away within like 6, 7 months of her going on to like cannabis treatment. Then
Wow.
the government changed the rules, and it must have been early 2000s because it was around about 2005, 2006. They made it a Class A drug in the UK
Mm-hmm.
again. So the kind of funding and research had to stop, and it got worse because you had to go into
Oh.
more drugs. So she ended up taking extra. So I think in the morning it was 30, 40 different kind of tablets to get up. Then at night it was the same just to get to sleep. And that was the thing that changed my kind of opinion on it. So I was like, well, if this can literally be proven to help somebody,
Mm-hmm.
then why would you still change it to a Class A drug? And then
Yeah, exactly.
that gave me a whole long history of not really believing what somebody tells you until you do your own research.
Yeah. No, I know. And that's what I teach my children too. Like, it's okay to ask questions. You don't have to blindly believe somebody. I mean, you should always be respectful, but it's all right to ask questions.
Yeah, it's
Um,
always be respectful of what somebody's saying, but sometimes people are just talking through their behind.
yeah. Or
So
sometimes they just don't know. They just don't know. And you don't
yeah,
know what you don't know. So, you know.
yeah, that's one of the things as well. Is a lot of people don't like to admit that they don't know.
Hmm.
So like they'll just talk
Yeah.
just rubbish, and you're like just say you don't know. It's fine. You
Oh,
don't need to
yeah.
you don't need to rabble on.
We have a name for those people. We call them noise face.
That's a a good name. We call them something a little bit more ruder, but we obviously being from Glasgow, we pretty much every second word that we say is a sweary word, so it's pretty good. But yeah, so like when you were growing up and stuff like that, what was kind of your earliest experience with cannabis?
Oh, sure. Oh, I remember it so well. It wasn't particularly unpleasant. It was weird and bizarre. And I remember feeling a little bit of shame afterwards, like, social stigma.
Yeah,
Um, but I was quite young. I was probably about 13 or so. And I had this cousin, I still have her. I still have this cousin, Madeline, whom I adore. She's about a year and a half older than me and just like infinitely cooler. And, she always had cool clothes and friends and like hot boyfriends. And I wanted to be just like Matt. And we were visiting her family's house and she was letting me tag along with her and her friends, and somebody had a joint and it was going around the circle and it got passed to me, and I remember taking it and inhaling, and then I was just kind of relaxing and sitting back and watching my cousin be her super cool self. But I do remember sitting there and like physically patting the top of my head because I just like that feeling of being literally high was kind of coming over me.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, it's not unpleasant. It's all right. I could do this again. It took me ages to do it again because where does a 13-year-old get cannabis, right?
yeah,
But, it was years and years before I really started. And I think I was probably about 18 before I started smoking like really regularly. And yeah, and it's just since then has been a constant in my life. It's something that I don't see not having, in the garden, in the pantry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose it is kind of for me. It was I used to smoke it when I was about 16, then I stopped just because the people it was all like Neds, which is like um that's a really Glasgow word for calling like, young people that are just really bad. It was just so we call them Neds. It was just them that used to smoke it all the time.
Sure.
Um, and I was just like I just like you have to either speak to them to get it, and I was like, I just kind of be bothered with
Yeah.
it. But I went away from it and I came back to it when I was about 19 because I broke my neck, so I had to like take
Oh.
7, 8 months off of it all sport.
Uh-huh.
So I was sitting there really bored. The pain was killing me. And I
Yeah.
don't like taking painkillers. I just never have. Obviously, it'll be from when my mum was taking so many. So
Mhm.
I was like even to this day, if I get like a cold, I'll go to the doctors and they'll be like, "Here's the antibiotics," and I'm like, "No, it's fine. I can
Yeah.
deal with this myself."
Yeah. I'll power
Um,
through.
but like it's just I started smoking that again then. It took the pain out of my neck. Started doing like yoga when I was doing it, so I could move my neck a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I recovered in a shorter period of time as well. So it's always been like a positive for me.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's people out there that have negatives with it, but those are the same people that are going to have negatives with alcohol or
Mhm.
social media. Like I said earlier, there's probably the same people that are sitting on their phone 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, never mind just being on your phone all the time, but even the burnout that comes from like Instagram. Like Herd Life has a big presence on Instagram, and for years and years I managed the account, and then I just kind of hit a wall and was like, I just can't anymore. I just
Yeah.
I can't care about the likes anymore. I'm just gonna sit here and smoke a joint and let someone else do that now.
With myself doing like the digital marketing kind of side of stuff, when we talk to clients, that's all they're worried about is like the likes. And it's
Yeah.
so hard trying to tell them like that is the like doesn't mean that's going to be a customer. Like
No,
we
exactly.
we'll run ads and stuff to get you customers, but the
Mhm.
post it might not get like if it gets 100 likes, that's fine. If it gets 3 likes, that's fine.
Yeah,
It does that
exactly.
doesn't mean it's going to turn into like that person's like I'm definitely going to buy from them. So, but in Scotland, it is still kind of like an older way of thinking. So, like for me, most of my clients are based in America, Canada,
Okay.
India, and things like that because
Mhm.
they're more open to listen to what you've got to say.
Yeah.
So here they still use leaflets mostly.
Oh, wow.
Um, like that's totally gone. Nobody ever looks at a leaflet and buys it.
Right.
Um, but I'm like trying to tell people this is a lot more cost effective.
Mhm. It's a
But
lot more
sometimes
cost effective.
I'm just like, you know what, just forget it. I'm just going to stick to doing the high grind, just relax a little bit. It's a little bit more fun. I don't need to sit and tell people the benefits of everything,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
a lot more straightforward. So yeah, it's good to see the differences, um, and kind of ties into kind of what you were saying there. Obviously, you were saying your kind of your youngest experience. You were pretty young when you first tried it, and you got that first sensation of getting high.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people say that the first time
Mhm.
is the worst time to because your body kind of just screams. It's like, what's
Yeah.
going on here? I've never experienced this before.
What's happening here? Yeah, and then, like I said, it wasn't bad. I wasn't uncomfortable and I wasn't scared. I was just like, "Huh, this is different." Hmm.
Yeah, I always describe it as the fight or flight of getting high. So
Eh,
some people will feel it and they'll be like, it's okay, like I can get used to this, and other people
yeah.
feel it and then they'll pass out or they'll be sick or you know,
Yeah.
it's the fight or flight of getting high, which is an interesting way to look at it. Do you do any
Yeah.
have you ever tried anything like DMT or ayahuasca or anything like that?
I haven't tried ayahuasca. I'm curious about it, but I understand that you also get really, really sick. So I'm kind of a baby about the idea. Um, but I'm a big fan of mushrooms. Psilocybin mushrooms. I think
Yeah.
they're fantastic. I think, like, I think I'm almost of the mindset of, okay, right on. Canada has legalized cannabis. That's great. The war is not over, but we're certainly almost there. What's the next frontier? And there's, psilocybin is very interesting.
I
It's
think the mushroom ones is weird because you can
mhm,
eat some mushrooms and then other
yeah,
mushrooms that can kill you aren't illegal. But
yeah.
the mushroom that can get you high, you can't take it.
I know, isn't it funny? And I mean, we know that. for people who are suffering from like PTSD, psilocybin's often a great way to treat that. Or I have a girlfriend who has, she gets vertigo, like really, really bad vertigo. And she tells me that the way that she treats it is by microdosing mushrooms. And I mean, that just sounds great to me
Yeah.
if there's all these applications. And I don't know about you, but like if when I eat mushrooms or I drink a mushroom tea, it's usually in a very small dose. So I'm not like I never hallucinate. I'm not seeing like, little green men or anything, but I just kind of feel really good and really happy. And maybe my skin feels a little more sensitive, but in a good way, not like a rashy way. And I just have more energy. And I think that, like, for me, it's such a positive experience that I would like for other people to experience it.
Yeah, well, one of the big things in Scotland is the psilocybin mushrooms grow everywhere,
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
we have like the perfect climate for it.
Nice.
So like you can out out my back garden, there's like a big kind of swing park where
Uh-huh.
kids and stuff can play, and then there's like an empty park just behind it. You can walk up there and just pick them up because they're just there,
Oh my God, that's
and
fantastic.
it's against the obviously it's against the law. You can I think it's
Hmm.
5 years in prison you can serve at the maximum
Yeah.
extent of the law. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
how can I serve 5 years in prison by going over to my back garden? It's like a 30-second walk.
Yeah.
I just think
Yeah.
that's insanely. I think if anything can grow, if you can,
Hmm.
somebody can go pick up a mushroom that can kill them.
Hmm.
You should be able to pick up a mushroom that can get you high. It's the same.
Yeah, if it comes out of the ground naturally, if Mother Nature created it, who are we to decide that it's no good,
Yeah, if it's
Um,
if it's been there before we were even here, it should be
yeah,
fine.
exactly, exactly. And like, sure, some stuff will kill us, but we've learned about those things. We avoid those.
Yeah,
And I just, yeah, and it's fun. And meanwhile, there's all of these things that are like synthetic medications that are made by chemists in a lab. And those are killing hundreds of thousands of people every year. And we're just like, no, it's fine. They're legal. They're
yeah.
made by huge corporations. Must be a good thing. Like, no.
It's the like I was saying, like my mum was really unwell, and
Mhm.
so she ended up passing away. But I was sure that it was because of It's fine. It's been like 10 years, so it's not like a.
Yeah.
It's like I was sure that it's like because of the medication she was on,
Hmm.
and like doing research. Obviously, it's been 10 years now, so I've had a lot of research and stuff that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And one of the painkillers she was on induces what I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but
Mhm.
it's like I'm trying to remember what it's called. It'll come back to me.
Sure,
It's
sure.
like a pneumonia. It's like similar to that. So when they say what you're passing away with, they'll say it's pneumonia. Um,
Okay.
but you don't have some of the things that would class it as that. So like you've not been ill for like a week. You're not like you've not really hit the right stages for them to class it as that. But there's nothing else to put it in. Because they
Right.
can't really say it's because you've been taking these tablets for 10 years, 12 years, and that's why this has happened to you.
Right.
But yeah, so that's kind of doing my research
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I found that, and it turns out like I think it's 22 or 23,000 people a year died in the UK,
Holy.
every year for the past 10 years with the exact same thing. So they'll say like it's the same thing, but it's because of these tablets.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a painkiller that they give to horses. They,
Oh
they
my
they
gosh.
used to give
Okay.
to horses, and then they've reduced the amount for human consumption. Which I'm like, if you're giving it to a horse, which is a lot
Oh,
bigger and stronger than a human, you shouldn't
yeah.
be. Plus, it's a
Can
different
you
species.
imagine, like, who was the guy who was like, "Hey, my horse looks happy. I'm gonna try this too." Like, how did that come about?
I always think it's weird as well with like
Mhm.
the stuff like amoxicillin, penicillin just got
Oh
discovered
yeah.
by the man just leaving the tree out and going away for the weekend,
Mhm.
coming back
Mhm.
and it's like, oh, this this looks like it's going to be okay.
Yeah, right? Isn't
Speak,
that something?
I suppose somebody's had to try cannabis and mushrooms and DMT at some point, so those people probably at that time were like a way out there.
Hmm.
But if you had any time to go do like ayahuasca or DMT, I would definitely recommend it because it is a really good experience.
That,
I
I mean,
would
I
say
haven't
only
heard
do it once
anyone
and that's
say
it.
that it's not, like everybody I've spoken to has been like, look, it kind of sucked in the moment, but then I came away with this, gift of sight or whatever. And
Yeah,
sounds
everybody
it sounds like,
experiences the same thing, especially if that ayahuasca gets done in a group.
uh-huh.
Everybody experiences the same high. They see the same things, and
Really? Like everybody in the group?
yeah.
Huh.
Well,
That's,
the group I was in, everybody seen kind of the
yeah,
same stuff. Obviously, a little bit different because everybody sees things differently, but
sure.
it was the same kind of description of everything that was happening.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's weird as if it's like you all come together. Like even if you don't know somebody, you'll still talk to them a few months later. You know, I've had this weird experience with you. I don't
That's
know
right.
what
Well,
to
you've
do.
shared something so meaningful. Yeah.
So obviously, you were saying you do more focus towards like females in the kind of cannabis industry. Um,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the good things, especially in 2019, like improving female stance in business and things like that as well. But
Yeah.
we don't even hear like the kind of classic stoner look as a man that's all scruffy, just
Right,
sitting
scruffy,
stoned.
eat Doritos,
Yeah, but you
and
wouldn't
he's
think like a real successful. Like obviously you could be like, oh, successful man, like you can kind of maybe
mhm,
say that, but you
yeah,
wouldn't put like in like the modern conception, like we're saying with the older kind of generation, they wouldn't put in a successful woman smoking
no, of
cannabis
course
and
not.
stuff like that as well. So they would be blown
No,
away
and a
with that.
lot of people are like, "Oh, but mothers wouldn't do that." And it's like, well, sure they do. Like, how do how do you think getting down on the floor and playing Lego for hours gets better? Cannabis helps. And I mean, some moms use alcohol and others use pills. Like you remember in the 50s or movies from the 50s, you always see women who are like, "Oh, I need my nerve pill." My
Yeah,
granny used to say that, my nerve pill. What
I
on
think
earth is
it's
that?
I think it's so weird that they would be like. So for me, I work from home, so I spend
Hmm.
a lot of time with my kids and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Because it's good to see. The way I look at it is, it's good for them to see somebody build a business,
Yeah,
and a business get run, and teach that entrepreneurship from a young age.
yeah,
Because it's something that I would have loved to have got taught at that time. Um,
yeah.
but if I was reaching for a glass of a beer or some whiskey, nobody would say anything.
Mm.
But if I'm going outside to smoke a joint or just to relax, whatever, people would be like, "Oh, you can't do that."
Yeah,
it's
no.
the-
Oh,
it's
no, no,
double
you're a bad
standards.
parent. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, I mean, so part of the reason that I'm so focused on like the female audience is, I mean, one, it came about quite organically as I was writing posts for this blog. I was trying to describe what I was doing. And so, we came up with this tagline where I said, we're celebrating cannabis uh, through the female experience. So celebrating the feminine cannabis experience. And people would ask why we said that. And it was, my only answer was like, well, it's the most authentic. Like I'm a female and I'm writing this. So
Yeah,
you're getting my perspective. So that's all it is. And eventually we changed it to from female to feminist because we didn't want it to feel like anybody was being excluded. Gender identity is such a big thing right now, and people just want to be seen and they don't want to be, invalidated. And I thought, well, I think in 2019, I think most people would have no problem calling themselves a feminist. So we changed feminine to feminist. And part of that means that we're starting to use our platform to talk about and highlight women who are leading companies. And it's not just because we're women and we feel like a kinship with our sisters or anything like that. I mean, there is that, but it's also because like right now in Canadian cannabis, of all of the licensed, like federally licensed producers, there are 92 male CEOs. There's only 8 female CEOs. That ratio is insane. There's no reason for that. Like
Yeah,
90% of venture funding raised by women of color since 2009 went to something like 34 women. Like it's just it's one of those issues that we need to keep talking about because our male allies want to see us achieve gender parity. Women want gender parity. So we just have to talk about it and keep
yeah.
pointing it out.
The worst thing for me is my partner works, so
Mhm.
she's got like a normal job. I've
Yeah.
I've never really had. I used to be a professional wrestler. I broke my neck. Then I had
Yeah.
like a few other businesses, so it's never I've never really had like that normal job.
Uh-huh.
So people look at it the opposite for me. So they'll be like, "Oh, like, she goes out to work, and you sit in the house and just watch your kids
Yeah.
and get stoned." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, I don't just sit in the house and watch your kids and get stoned. I actually
Yeah.
work."
Yeah.
But because I do what I like, people always think it's easier for some reason. But yeah, like you were saying, I think in 2019 it's the feminists and getting feminist culture and getting yourself sort of standing out into it, letting people
Mhm.
be recognised of who they are.
Yeah.
One thing that I always try and push, especially in the local area where we are, is for men to speak to each other, and so build up that kind of, like you were saying, a kinship that women
Yeah.
have, build that up between men because like the suicide rate's so high,
Yeah.
and I think as well it is the there's too many male CEOs, so they're in high pressure positions. So if
Mhm.
they not step down, but like if
Yeah.
it was more equal, so if it's 50-50, you'd probably see that suicide rate go down as well because they're
Oh
not going
yeah.
like you were saying, if there's 100 people and there's 60 male CEOs, and that's
Mhm.
CEOs a really hard kind of stressful position.
Mhm.
More men will kill themselves because there's more they're at the higher level than what the females are. So if it was 50-50, it helps with that as well.
Yeah.
We
That's a
have
great
I have
argument.
that
I've never heard
conversation.
it before.
I have that conversation on a daily basis, and everybody's always like you just said, I've never heard that before. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it makes no sense. Why? That's equality. Just everybody gets to share everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Everybody share the load, you know. We parent equally, we bring in money equally, but we don't raise finances equally. So like in North America in the last 2 years, women only received like less than 3% of venture capitalist dollars. That's, like, why is that? It's not that women aren't coming up with great ideas. Women have invented some of the most useful, incredible things that we use every day. And certainly when it comes to cannabis, women love cannabis. They buy almost as much as their male counterparts, and often they'll buy in larger quantities. They're more discerning when it comes to branding, it seems. At least this is what some of the data is showing us. And
yeah,
and it's just if you want to reach that female market, then wouldn't it make sense to put female leaders on your executive team and not just your management team, right? Like you don't want your head of marketing and your head of, customer relations to be a woman, but you also want your operations person or your new product design or like any spot that's filled by a man should and could be filled by women as well.
yeah. For me, when I'm looking like with the digital marketing side of stuff, or with the other businesses that I run, if I'm looking for a head position, I always try and look for a woman. It's not to be like or like promote feminism or anything like that. It's
Right.
just to get the job done better. Um, and it's generally the way I always look at it is to find the easiest solution to the problem. So
Mhm.
like sometimes like a man will put extra stress on herself to try and compete with people.
Right.
But the women like you can go here's what I need you to do. Can you go do it?
Yeah.
And just and they'll get it done. I don't need to sit and tell them what to do. I can just leave them. I know it's going to be good. I don't need to
Yeah.
worry about it. But like when in the past when I've hired men or when I've worked with like owners of companies, like when it's a man, they literally call you every day to complain,
Right. Oh
or
my
they'll be like,
gosh.
this product isn't working really well for me, and I'm like, okay, you could have waited till maybe Monday. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm with my family, but
This is
it's just
not an appropriate time. Yeah.
yeah, like that I've had clients call me, especially when I work with clients like in America and Canada, they'll call me at maybe 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm like, yeah, I've been sleeping. Like I says, you can
It's
leave me
because
an
we
email.
can't do math. We can't do the time difference.
I'm like, you can leave me an email, and I'll literally get back to you the minute I wake up. And normally I'm awake at 3, so just leave me an email because in the morning I'm not the happiest person. But it's that kind of weird. That's the reason there is male and females because it balances the
Yeah.
world out. Just like in every animal has a male and female because everything is balanced in
Yeah, of
nature
course.
really.
We
And
need
that's the
that.
kind of the one thing I always try and teach everybody is like for me I do like mixed martial arts and stuff like that.
Ah, cool.
Our classes are so if you're doing Muay Thai, if there's a woman there, it's not like a man against a man and you can't train against a woman. It's like it doesn't matter. Because
Yeah.
some of the women are in the UFC that we've trained with, and they can kick a lot harder than what any man can.
Hmm.
Sometimes I've seen myself like try to avoid getting picked by them because I've been going for so long.
Yeah.
So I'll try and avoid and be like, okay, can I just work with like one of the new guys? And then they'll always be like, oh, is that because you're sexist? I'm like, no, it's because I don't want to hurt my legs. I've still got all
Yeah.
week to. But in that industry as well, and the MMA, they're using a lot more cannabis products, like the hemp oils, like I was saying,
Hmm.
hemp seed oil as well for digestion, losing weight, all that different kind of stuff. There's so much you can get from one plant.
Yeah.
The other side of that is obviously you're helping raise awareness of the female side in the cannabis industry.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like part of it is, have you heard of this idea of imposter syndrome?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. So where you're always, no matter what you achieve, you always are kind of just waiting for everyone to figure out what a fraud you are, and certainly I get that. And I know that a lot of the women that I know and love suffer from it as well. But there are interesting ways that it kind of manifests in our everyday life and we don't really notice. And like one example would be that there's the statistic that says that men will apply for a new job if they feel that they have 80% of the qualifications that are required, whereas women, or sorry, 60, if they have 60%, whereas women won't unless they have 80%. And you know, I would like for us all to kind of get on the same page and for everybody to have the easy confidence of these men. I'd like my son to grow up and apply for every job he wants, but I want my daughter to do that as well. And if there's some way that I can contribute to gender parity, um, then I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do it through storytelling because that's what I do best. But
yeah,
you know, but that's I feel like it's so important that we kind of recognize the different ways that we sort of experience life, because of society and the patriarchy. And a lot of people will sort of get into this place where they're quite angry about it, and it's justified and that's fine. But like I have this little boy that I look at and he's so precious and so perfect, and I don't want him to grow up feeling like because he's a white man that he's getting extra uh, opportunities. I want him to earn those opportunities for himself, and I want his sister to get those opportunities just as easily as he does. So how do we reach that
Yeah,
kind of utopia, you know?
yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Obviously, for me, I don't have. So one of my best friends when I was younger, he was he was just over 7 feet, and he was from like the middle of
Wow.
Africa. So he was like, if you could imagine, like the colorist person you could think of, and
Okay.
he used to like he used to always wear pink shirts for some reason, just to make himself stand out that a little bit more.
Just to make
Um,
himself, because otherwise he'd blend in.
yeah, so obviously a 7 feet person would
But
be blend into anything, but we like I've never obviously we know racism exists. It's always going to exist, or we know like feminism and some male think that
Mhm.
women can't do certain things. Some women
Right.
think men can't do certain things.
Sure.
That's always, hopefully, doesn't always exist. But at the
Mhm.
moment, it's going to be here for at least another generation or two.
Yeah.
But like I've never experienced, well, I've experienced it happening to other people, but
Mhm.
I've never put that into my kind of world that I live in because
Mhm.
I don't see that I don't see in colour, which I never understand people who see like, oh, there's a coloured person, we can't speak to them. There's,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just don't get that. I don't get the like women can't do like certain things. Like
Yeah, right?
men
Or
can't
vice
work the washing
versa.
machine. I'm like I can work the washing machine.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just I just see it. I don't I've never understood it, and it's always kind of because I don't interact in that way.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Yeah.
there is some areas of the kind of social justice world just now that take it to an extreme. But I just avoid all of it. I'm just kind of like everybody's just a human. I don't know what's the difference.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the sort of perfect world that we want to work toward, where we're all just humans, right? And we're all just trying to like create this world that we live in and make it a positive place. And like one of the organizations here in Canada that I have a ton of respect for is called Cannabis Amnesty. And what they're doing is lobbying for people who have received like nonviolent drug offenses to not just have them pardoned but expunged from their records, and particularly for people of color, because at least here in North America, people of color are much more likely to be targeted and be arrested than white people are for cannabis use, and which is obscene and ridiculous and horrifying. And I think that that's one of those sort of issues that we've got to come to terms with and try to, I don't know, like, can we fix that? Try to fix that before we all move forward into this like prosperous new weed is everything world. And when everybody can participate in the industry, or even like break it down more than that, when anybody who is 18 and plus can smoke a joint whenever they want without fear, then that's when we'll be where we want to be. Like, that's when we'll be successful. But if some segments of the community are still being targeted more than others, like, that's horrifying. And it's so frustrating because, like, I wasn't raised that way. Like, I was raised in a very like multicultural place, and it was like, in fact, actually my elementary school was in a part of Toronto that's um, sort of known as like the LGBT community. And so
Mhm.
most of my friends were uh, like came from like immigrant parents, myself included. I'm a firstborn generation Canadian. But they were all immigrant parents, and a lot of them were gay or lesbian, and so I had this straight white father, and it was super weird.
Yeah,
But nobody was mean to me, and that's the lesson, right? Everybody was just as lovely and as accepting to me as if I had parents like theirs.
yeah. For me, when I grew up, it's the good thing about Scotland, it's really good with assimilating. So
Nice. Yeah.
anybody who moves here just kind of gets accepted because we're on a terrible situation at the
Yeah.
same time. And I stay in the more the city centre of Glasgow, which is like Chinatown area.
Hmm.
And I don't see it as like I don't see the difference. It's like there's a large LGBT community in
Yeah.
Glasgow, so I don't even for me I just see it as a person.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like
Yeah.
you were saying about like the racism and the differences, for myself who's been somebody from Scotland, when I travel to England,
Hmm.
I get looked at like a second class citizen in England.
Yeah.
So the racism between English people and Scottish people, that's been there for thousands of years.
Thousands of years, like
And
millennia.
that's not changed, especially if we go to England.
Hmm.
I mean like me and my partner and my kids.
Hmm.
But there's sometimes that people have, when I've went in business recently, mostly because of the English nationalism that's happening.
Yeah.
I've been asked to like get off a seat in a bus.
Go on, really?
I would think, what is this, the 1950s? I felt like
Oh my God.
then is there a certain area for Scottish people?
Yeah.
I've been told to go back to my own country as well. I'm like, well, technically, I'm the same country as you, but
Yeah.
don't push it because we
Technically.
might leave.
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's like I don't think it will ever change, but I just think more and more people will
Fed
just
up
become
with
more
it.
like it'll just become more kind of less common to see people that are like
Yeah.
segregating themselves because obviously everybody's different. Like for instance, I'm from Scotland, you're from Canada.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean we can't have a conversation. Like it could, it could
No,
be
it's true.
somebody.
And you know what? I'll even tell my British parents that I had a conversation with you and the world didn't end.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't. Nothing stopped. Eh, but we get it. Well, I get it quite a lot because I believe in Scottish independence and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
when I go to places like England, if they ask me, I'll just tell them because I don't see it as a problem.
Yeah.
Because I feel, well, if we're an independent country, we're going to be more open for more
Yeah.
people to come and live here because that's what we want.
Mhm.
Um, and the when you go to England and you say that, it's a really bad thing to say.
Isn't
You
that
get treated
sad?
like really bad, and I think it's weird
Yeah.
that when so like the male and female argument is obviously there. Then you've got like the white and coloured
Yeah.
people, or the white and black, the white and Indian, white and somebody else anyway. But they never speak about like the like Irish and English,
No, it's
Scottish and
true. It's a
English,
story
French
that's
and
not often
Spanish.
told.
Well,
Yeah.
especially in Europe. Europe's a really racist place.
Oh
So
my gosh.
for us, it's a 7 hour train journey. Maybe
Mhm.
yes, it's 7 hours from Glasgow to London. And doing that, you would go through maybe three different places that would say that you're like go back to your own country.
Yeah. Oh my
And then you sometimes you even get people that are not even from England telling you to go back to your own country because England's theirs. And you're like, okay, that's great.
I can't
Um,
imagine. I mean, I'm so privileged. Nobody's ever said that to me. And I'll own that. I'll own my privilege and I'll try to use it to, teach my children to be better than that. But like on my worst days though, when I'm just so fed up and I just think humanity is the worst. It's because I realize that since the dawn of time, every single community has done something crappy to their neighbor, like, oh, we're all just awful. But I think maybe because it's been so long, maybe because we have the internet and we're all so much more connected and visible, maybe there's a chance for us.
well, are becoming less and less frequent.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've still got wars in the Middle
Hmm.
East and like the bad guys in Russia, as people still make out sometimes.
Hmm. Right.
Which I recently went to Russia and they're totally fine. They're no bad. They're,
Had
they're
a
just
good
normal
time.
people. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fine. We had some beer, we chatted. That was it. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's the same. It's the same dynamic as I was saying against the female and male kind of
Yeah.
Like, as if it's turned into those are two different tribes now, instead of from it being racism or being
Right.
rich
Some like
against poor.
arbitrary border thing. Now
Yeah,
it's like genitals.
yeah, there always needs to be like two different teams to play
Yeah,
for, it
why is
seems.
that? Is that like a human thing? Like, do we need to feel adversarial to somebody? Is that, or is that like, what is that? It's super weird. Because I know, I can tell you right now, I would be thrilled to go the rest of my life without ever identifying somebody who I think is, my enemy or somebody I need to
Yeah,
be afraid of. Like, I would love to just live my life and raise my children and tell stories about weed and just be like, this is for everyone. And and I will tell everyone's story, or rather I will publish anyone's story.
I suppose it's just well, if you look at monkeys, like even the most again monkeys, chimpanzees, gorillas, there's always the same this group against that group.
Right.
So it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's ingrained into our genetics, which for I love like studying like humans, which sometimes if I go to like a party, I'll be like quiet. So I like to watch the way people interact because it's so similar to watching like if you watch like gorillas or chimpanzees, it's just so similar to watch them. And if you tell that to somebody, they're like, "Well, we're not the same as them." And you're like, "Okay,
We're not that different.
let let me record you, and then I'll
Mhm.
pull up a monkey that's probably done the same thing as you."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and it's the same. Well, even gorillas and stuff like that, they use mushrooms as a way to relax. Some of them, chimpanzees, have used to use uh,
Oh,
the cannabis plant to wash themselves.
I
Um,
had no idea.
there's loads of different. The animal kingdom pretty much get high all the time, which is
Sure, why not? I mean, you'd have really long days, right, if you didn't have to go to work.
if you could sit in there just for fun, you'd just go, I'm just going to get high all day. Let's just forget this. But yeah, it's the same. I think that's where not where the human race is going to go. We're not going to end up be furry people just getting high. But with like you said, with the internet being more open, people being able to
Mhm.
chat across the world,
Yeah.
it just opens up more doors instead of some people being shut behind, being stuck in
Well,
like the narrow-minded way they used to be.
yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I like so much about the cannabis plant. Like, it really, I mean, at the risk of sounding super, super cheesy right now, I'm going to say that cannabis knows no cultural boundaries, like it grows really well throughout the world. There's tons of different religious orders and spiritual ceremonies that incorporate it in, and like from all over the world. We did this photo shoot in the last volume of our print magazine, and where we looked at and sort of tried to reimagine how cannabis might have been used throughout various eras. So we looked at like 6000 BCE when people in China were using it as a nutraceutical, and then we sort of zipped over to Norway and checked out how Vikings might have cultivated it for medicinal purposes or sailcloth or whatever.
Hmm.
And it's just like everybody can find a use for it. And so I take a little bit of heart there.
There's still some places I think it's Mongolia,
Hmm.
might be Mongolia or Kazakhstan. It just grows on the side of the road,
Yeah.
and it's just they use it to build like to get clothes, build like their traditional houses, and like the
Uh-huh.
part that would get you high, they just throw it away because they don't.
That's
Well,
because they don't
obviously,
see the value there. That's fine.
I, I I'm like I watched a documentary on it, and I was like, why you like throwing this away is giving me for
Yeah.
anxiety.
Ship it over here. I'll take care of it for you. I'll recycle it for you.
But yeah, there's like there's from all over the world. There's like so much. And the
So
one
many
thing that I always say,
stories.
so I'm not like a religious person at all, but
Yeah.
if you people can believe what they want to believe, obviously being on the earth, sometimes it's easy to believe something just to get you through. But
Yeah.
I always say you must be extremely high to write like the Bible. See, like I would have been, if it was me going back then, I would have expected Jesus to be high.
Yeah, of
You'd have
course.
like he's went away for a couple of days, came back, he rolled a stone. Like the way we always say it as well is like so one of the gentlemen used to be a Muslim and he didn't convert, he just stopped being a Muslim because he was like it's pretty bad, you can't drink, you can't eat.
He's
So he loved
trying
baking
different
and
stuff.
he used to be like I need to leave. So he just stopped it. He was like, I just don't want to do it just now. And he's like, it's insane, like the stuff that you're not allowed to do. And he's like, when he came out of it, he's like, he realised, he's like, these people must be extremely high when they were writing this book because some of the stuff in it is like a, getting too high and just writing something down.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's like, well, and it's so subjective. It's, you know what I mean? Like it's so open to interpretation, and some people take those interpretations to an extreme. And other people are just sort of value it as really fantastic old-timey storytelling. Um, so it's,
Yeah, I
yeah,
suppose it's like if I've read the Bible before when I was in school, I've read the Quran as well. So we done lessons when we read like mostly all the kind of religious things. So like we've learnt a lot about Judaism, like the Quran, Sikh, everything like that we kind of got taught when we were in school.
mhm.
And I took all that and just went, yeah, I'm alright. I'll just
Yeah,
believe what I want to believe. I think it's too confusing. Like your God's better than my God. My one, like there was a boat,
yeah.
there was water splitting. Your one went up a hill. I don't know. I'll just leave it. It's too
Yeah,
confusing.
I don't know what the answer is, and who am I to say anyway? You know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, it's probably like I kind of like the theory that, you know, if there is a higher power, this, God, because we have to give it a name. I like the idea that, you know, everything is God. Like my desk in front of me is God, and you are, and I am, and the basketball hoop in my driveway is, and the chicken in my garden is. Like we're all part of this like magical, mystical, whatever life is.
And
And I
that's one
kind
of
of
the things with DMT, like we were saying. So see, when you
mhm.
eventually pass away, you get released. Your body makes DMT, so DMT
Oh,
gets released into your body, and that's meant to be when you see your life all over.
ah,
And so when some people die, they'll see like a white light. Um,
right.
they'll see things. So going back to my mum, just because she's the most sick person that I met, she
Mhm.
was in intensive care at one time,
Mhm.
which is like when like the life support machines and things like that.
Yeah.
And when she came back, she was like, "Oh, she could tell me like what she's seen." She was in a field. She was she was playing with like the dog that we had at the time.
Oh, wow.
She could describe all this stuff like as in like she could be like, "This is what the grass felt like.
Mhm.
This is how it smelled." And I was like, obviously after my research, I realised that that's what the DMT kind of substance was.
Right.
But yes, that's what happens when you die. Like well, scientists believe it. They're not going to be there at the exact minute somebody's going to die and be like, okay, let's wait for the DMT.
Yeah.
But they say that's like when you get like a near-death experience and you say your life flashes before your eyes. That's what you're seeing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's the same thing with when people think they've been abducted by aliens.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's because you get released a small doses when you're dreaming. So when you have like a vivid, you dream every night, but when you have like a vivid dream, you're like, that's a really weird dream.
Yeah.
But that's because the DMT is released into your blood kind of system.
Oh.
It's meant to be able to help you remember as well. Because a lot of people that say they've been abducted by aliens, it that's meant to be like the birth, like when you're being born.
Mm.
So like you're born into like you come out. There's all these doctors around with weird shaped heads. like doing this poor weird dream. You're like, what the hell is this? It's meant to people like remembering that.
Right.
And that's DMT's been linked to be able to help with like, Alzheimer's and stuff. So that's part of that's what it leads into. Like, it can help you remember your whole life. So straight right back to being born.
Oh wow.
So
I
that's
would like
kind
to
of.
remember that. I bet
So
that
would
was
so
fun.
would I, but I think I would probably be like, yeah, it was aliens.
Yeah.
It was aliens. You'd
It
rather
was
believe it was
just the
aliens than.
aliens. Right, because that almost just seems easier to just be like, no, it was like this crazy freak occurrence and it was scary and so it was aliens.
Well, like yourself, if you look at your kids, like when I look at mine, I'm like, how did you come out of my partner?
Oh, I
That's
know. Like my son he's 11 now, and so he's big. He's getting to be quite tall, and like I can spend ages just sort of marveling at the size of his foot or like the width of his shoulders. I think I had a moment this morning when I was sending him off to school where I was just like, my God, you're massive. And like at one point you were like compacted into the size of your head and that came out of me like that's crazy to me. And I remember very well when he was a newborn sort of always walking around with this weird sensation that like maybe my toe had fallen off and was now like this new being, this new entity, like I just couldn't get past the thought that this was a part of me that came out of my body and was now its own thing. And I was super tripped out on that for a long time.
There's like when I look at my kids, I'm obviously the two of them are like 3 and 2, so they're going to be about the same age. I'm like, how the hell did
Yeah.
you like how have you grew into that? It's so quick. It's only
Yeah.
3 years is a short period of time, and
Mm.
they've went from you having to feed them and pick them up all the time to talking, walking about themselves, playing
Yeah.
games, making friends. You're like, how do you learn all this?
I know mine have their own opinions. Sometimes they tell jokes, like they come up with their own jokes, and I'm just like, what? I didn't tell you that. Where did you get that idea?
The best thing like about speaking to like different parents as well is that you speak about your kids as if like it's just somebody you're like them.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what they says today? Like when my partner comes in from work, and I'm like, do you know what they done to me? Like you always speak to them as if it's like some sort of like this person in the house. You're still kind of like, where did you come from?
Yeah. Where where is that one? Where's number one? Where's number two? That's what we say.
And the
Oh.
other thing, like speaking on the cannabis kind of side of stuff and the DMT, like different kind of highs.
Mhm.
Um, one of the recent studies that have only came out this year, I can't remember what it's called, was saying that one of the main reasons the umbilical cords are, obviously for the food, nutrients, cells, and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
um, is to help pass the DMT from the mum because it secretes into the can't remember what
Oh.
it's called. It goes into there and it goes to the kid because they're in there with their eyes just they're just there.
Oh.
They're not
I'm
really
gonna have to
seeing
do some
anything,
research. That's
and they'll see like all these lights and stuff like that.
huh.
So like if an astronaut in space, when they shut their eyes, they'll see lots of like flashing lights because of the radiation.
Uh-huh.
Apparently they're meant to be able to see that inside the mum's tummy, so that when they come out, their eyes are already adjusted towards because you can start seeing really
Right.
quickly. So it's meant to be
Hmm.
so to adjust their eyes, which is I think
You know, that
there's so
makes
much out
sense.
there that nobody even leads on to.
Yeah, yeah. When my second, um, like when I was still pregnant with her, she was threatening to be like breech, like backwards,
Yeah,
come out bum first. And I was terrified, just absolutely terrified. I thought, oh my God, that's gonna really hurt. And I don't want to do it. What am I gonna do? And so I used to do the most ridiculous things. I had this ironing board and I'd lay it against my sofa and I'd lay on it backwards, like upside down, so
yeah,
that my head was down to the ground. And then I would use like a flashlight and I would try to I'd shine the light on my against my skin, and I'd try to guide her sort of where I wanted her head to be. And and I'd ask my partner, I'd be like, look, get down there and say hello and call to her. Whatever we have to do, we have to get her head in the right spot, because I was terrified at the idea of a cesarean, but I was just as terrified at trying to birth a breech baby as well. And I don't know if that's what worked or if she just flipped on her own, but eventually she just flipped and wound up being one of the easiest babies to birth ever. But I think, it's interesting, the things that they're aware of when they're still in the womb is fascinating to me.
Yeah, so that's one of the, because obviously I do a lot of looking into DMT and stuff like that, because it's still quite a new area that people are finding out about. So new things are coming out all the time, and a lot of things that you were saying, you were lying and you had a torch on your belly, and all over try to get your kid to move around. It's meant to work because they'll be attracted towards light. Most humans are attracted towards fire, or anywhere there's light they'll go towards.
Yeah.
It's meant to, that kind of stuff's meant to work because of the DMT secretion into the baby in the belly. Because they're seeing lights, so that they, every human, if you're in a dark place and you turn the light on, we're going to walk over to it. So we're just kind of like big fireflies.
That makes sense. I feel like a firefly half the time, sure.
I think everybody's just, if you're in the middle of darkness, and I'm sure in Canada you have big areas where there's no lights.
Yeah.
So in Scotland you've got loads of them. If you're there and there's no lights at all, the minute you see a street light, you're walking towards it.
Yeah, sure, because that represents, safety and warmth and other people.
Yeah, just the road somewhere to
road.
find how to get home. Especially here, because if you get lost, you're obviously the same in Canada as well. But in Scotland being smaller, you get lost, you're either up atop of a mountain in water, or you're just in a field with cows. So you're like, the minute you see a light, you're like, there's a road over there, I need to get there.
Well, yeah, I live in this crazy wooded area, so it could be could be a cliff you're walking off the side of. So yes, I am with you. I will walk toward any light.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's just the DMT kind of thing that recent studies have shown. Don't know if it's true yet, but that's what some scientists are believing. Which would make a lot of sense, especially when kids come out and they're quite alert for even half an hour after, they're really alert. Yeah, it's just one of those different things that are coming out with obviously cannabis being legalized. Then you've got the psilocybin mushrooms, and you've got DMT, ayahuasca. There's so many natural products that can get you high, that a lot of people are going to be moving towards that as well. And obviously we're coming in towards the end of the kind of podcast. Our main question we always ask everybody before we finish off is, where do you want to be in 10 years' time?
Oh gosh, where do I want to be in 10 years? I'd like to be in a slightly bigger house, I'll tell you that. But I'd really like to be kind of where I am now. I'd like to still be writing and creating podcasts and stories. I hope that we're producing more magazines within 10 years. If we're not, then I'll just throw in the towel for sure. But I'd like to be in a place where Herblife has financing, and we can operate and we can work with other storytellers and other brands. Really, I want that perfect life. I want to get paid to do what I love doing, and wake up every day excited. And also, maybe if I don't have to answer to a boss, that'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
That's definitely my goal.
That's one of the things that I love about what I do, because I'm the boss of what I do. So I can, if I wake up on a Wednesday and I don't feel like doing work on a Wednesday, then I'll put my pajamas on and we'll just sit and watch Paw Patrol with my kids all day. But
Paw
if
Patrol, a
if I
classic.
feel like doing work on a Wednesday, then I do it. It's good to live in the self-employed life as well.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's, we're in that sort of like early startup stage where we're just starting to ramp up and we're, starting to really close these bigger deals and get more clients. So there's a ton of anxiety that I feel. Our staff
Yeah,
in the past, like 3 4 months, we've like doubled our staff size, which is fantastic, but also completely terrifying.
yeah,
Because you're like, everyone believes in me, I'm gonna do it. But then, on the other hand, you're like, holy crap, can I do this? Can I keep paying these people? And can I keep bringing in these clients? And so in 10 years, I hope that, we're at a place where I'm not riddled with anxiety about it. And I'm just really, really excited to get up every day and make something cool, you know?
yeah. I set my first business up when I was 11,
Okay.
doing shoe cleaning. So I stayed in a local area with like community housing, so it was like lots of flats.
Uh-huh.
And I just went to everybody's door and asked for a pound to clean a pair of their shoes. So every pair was a pound, and I used to make maybe 100, £200 a week. It was
Oh, that's
pretty good,
great.
pretty good money, especially when I was 11.
Hmm.
And all I can see is the anxiety just gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've been doing it for so long, so I've had businesses that I've had. Like when I was doing wrestling, I set up a wrestling business, and I had 60 plus staff, and then I sold that on. But then now my digital marketing business has only got 2 or 3, and
Right.
we're at that point now. When you set it up after the first year, you're going really well, and then you get that dip, like it just falls off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh, that's like it's not going to work." I'm like, "Calm down, it's just a dip." All the
Yeah.
staff, I've done this for years. I know what's happening. Like my account
It's
manager, he's like, "Oh, like so worried about the numbers." And I'm like, "It's fine. Give it 6 months, we'll be all right."
Oh, see, there you go. Now you're my hero. I'm gonna try to be like that. That's like we for the longest time it was just me. And then I convinced another woman to come and, sort of join the team and become our CEO. And she brought a little bit of, you know, cash so that we could keep going, and that was great. And then we got to a place where we could hire a couple of writers and an accounts manager, and that was fantastic because between the two of us we were trying to create the content, make sure all of the contracts were properly signed, also close on sales, and it was just too much, and plus the marketing, and it was too much, and we were feeling crazy and overwhelmed and scared. And now we've got these fantastic people on the team who know how to do those things and do them well. And it's so exciting to watch it grow and to kind of hope it continues to grow.
Yeah.
I don't
So
see
for
why we can't be sort of, this new cannabis centric media empire. That's the goal.
yeah, that's obviously the like you were saying, that's the goal there. For me, I help teach businesses as well. So one of the other things I do is business consultancy.
Oh,
So
great.
I've been doing it for so long, like 15, 16 years. I've been kind of doing businesses.
Yeah.
So everybody I go into, like you were saying at the start, they're always like they're doing everything. Like they're doing the sales, the marketing, the product, just everything you can think of. They're all doing it themselves.
Yeah.
But I always say when I go into like a business after the first year, I'm like, right, cool. So you've worked in your business for a year. Now you're the owner.
Hmm.
So like you always kind of put that time in. You need to work in the business and try everything, so you know how the people
You know
feel,
how it works. Yeah.
and then you're the owner. So you take a step back, you
Hmm.
diarise a little bit, you
Yeah.
pass everything out, and then you start building it from there. But the first
Yeah.
year, we always say, you need to just eat the shit, as I like to call it. It just helps you get to that next point as well, especially when you hire somebody and if they're having a bad day. They're like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I know how it feels because I've been there, especially with like sales or with marketing. sometimes you could get on paper it looks great, and then you put it out there, and then it's just nobody buys it.
Yeah, and you're like, "What? Like, I thought it was so genius. What do you my mom liked it. Why don't the rest of you?"
And then you put something out that you're like, this is terrible, like nobody's going to buy this.
Oh, and then they love
Ever.
it.
Yeah, the one that we put out recently was just an ad for a restaurant that we worked with,
Uh-huh.
and it was an Indian restaurant, and it just says curry, like nothing else that we came up with.
Well,
Like,
that's all you need to know. Oh, they've got curry. Perfect.
my account manager had this like amazing, like it was selling a Pacific curry. He was like, this is how you'll be able to do it. Put it out, barely any hit. I literally just wrote CURRY curry here. Click like the wee link just for them to click on Facebook below.
Hmm.
And I think that got like 180 hits, and he got like 2. And he was like, how does that work? And I was like, because nobody really cares. If they see a picture of the curry, they're going to click on it.
Yeah,
If they're
it's
hungry, they
true.
see the food, they click. That's it. He had like this elaborate like story on where this
Yeah.
curry. And I was like, nobody's reading that. I was like, because it's Facebook. If you're on Facebook
Hmm.
and see an ad, you're clicking it, and that's it. You're not even reading the rest of it.
Yeah. So it's like knowing where to put your resources and your attention. And, in my case, it was knowing when knowing when to sort of call it, in certain areas like sales, for example. Sales, I am not strong in sales, like in general, but then when I'm trying to sell something that I created and I'm very close to, it is my baby, it gets so much harder because now it feels so personal. And I
Yeah,
recognized that early on. And I was like, I just need someone who doesn't care. I need someone who's like got a really thick skin and doesn't care what this potential client has to say. And, I mean, she cares, but it doesn't wound her to the core when they say no. Whereas with me, it would send me, moping for a week. This is not productive. I need someone else. And that was a big turnaround for us.
yeah. To do sales, you do kind of need to have your thick skin,
Hmm. Yeah.
because you will get told no like every day,
Oh,
and
every
then you get
day.
like
Yeah.
that one that'll be like maybe. And you're like, okay, I like you.
Yeah, I like you. I'm gonna nurture this relationship.
So
Yeah.
for yourself, obviously, with your long kind of term plans, are you kind of looking at the Canada area as a whole? Are you going to look at maybe expanding into other countries like America or
Well,
over to Europe or anything like that?
yeah. So right now, our audience is split very nearly right down the middle between Canada and the US. And which surprised me because I didn't, I just didn't think it would appeal to Americans. Like it wasn't part of my game plan when I started. Um, so really we target North America at the moment. But yeah, like in my ideal scenario, the Herbalife is, international and shipping all over. We did ship our, this last issue to buyers in Italy and also Ireland. So I can say we're in 4 countries. And but I hope that just keeps increasing, and I hope that it becomes, like a newsstand staple. That would be great. And a lot of people will kind of be like, well, it's a cannabis publication, that's never going to be mainstream. But I just think, why not? Like, why couldn't it be? Why can't something I made be mainstream and be so widely accepted? I don't see any reason why not. And so I'm going to keep working toward that goal.
Yeah, especially they have books on cigars and
Yeah.
alcohol, and they have the
And
Forbes magazine. Have you ever picked up?
pornography and yeah, even Forbes, which is, your sort of like mainstream commercial magazine, but sometimes can be quite risque. And like our covers they're not your standard like weed magazine covers, or even like publication in general. And it's not because we see anything wrong with those. It's just that, my partner and I, she and I both grew up reading 17 magazine or Elle or Marie Claire, any other number of fashion magazines. And we thought we loved those and we want to recreate those, but just with a little like weedy twist to it. So that's really like we model our publications after mainstream commercial fashion magazines.
Yeah, and that's obviously something that like nobody else is doing. So you can there's that niche market.
Yeah, yeah. So it's still nichey, but I think maybe like someone's grandma might still enjoy the stories too.
Yeah, I suppose it's just getting people to take that time to sit down and read.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, so obviously, I love when people say like they're in foreign countries or they're international because one of my
Mhm.
first clients was in Australia, and that's what I put in my website straight away, International Digital Marketing Agency, when I
Oh,
was getting my first client up there. And it was just like, this is international. I'm in Scotland,
yes,
that's in
it's
Australia. It's
international.
literally the other side of the world, so this is great.
Oh, yeah, no,
And
for sure. I mean, it counts, and I'll say it.
promote it, just promote it everywhere you can go.
That's right.
And where can the listeners find you? Is it, obviously, we'll add the stuff in the description and stuff below.
Mhm.
Where could they find you?
Oh,
Instagram,
sure.
Facebook, Twitter, everywhere?
Yeah, yeah. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, the _herb life. And our website is theherblifestyle.com. Um, and there you'll find, links to buy magazines, to read stories, and to listen to our podcasts. So we have two that are available now. One of them is called The Mental Health Booster, and they're